Hi there! Today we handle a big topic. A topic almost all of us trainers have already been confronted with. It's one of the biggest fears of rookie trainers, but it can also place experienced trainers who train on a new topic in an uneasy situation. Today we answer the following: how do we manage difficult questions? Questions that are either very specific and ask for a documented answer, questions you are not sure what the answer was anymore, and questions you absolutely have no clue what the answer could be. To deal with difficult questions the right way, you always need to consider several aspects of the situation. First, is it relevant with the topics the group is trained on right now? Second, is it specific to a product or software version, to an application, to a client, and would not interest everyone? Third, is the delegate asking the question to know the answer or more to complain or challenge you? We are going to see generic strategies to answer, to dodge, or postpone questions in this module. Don't apply these without adapting to the specific situation you're in. And be careful about using these techniques because some necessitate to bluff and you're maybe not a professional poker player yet. So grab a pen, a notebook, and prepare your brain. We are going to learn 7 strategies you can use alone or combine to manage difficult questions. The first strategy, which is also my favorite, is to note the question you receive down on a flip chart or on the board. You can state that this is a very good question and that you note it down to answer it later. Because it needs a detailed answer and you don't have the time right now, or because it belongs to another part of the course, or simply because you will need to look for the answer somewhere in your notes. Pick up the excuse you prefer. The important point is that having the question written on the flip chart will appease the delegates. They know you owe them an answer sooner or later. The second strategy is to bounce back the question to the audience. Very good question, Michael. That's something I'm sure at least a few of you know the answer of. So, what's your opinion? Who could give us the right answer? It applies to questions that of course would interest the majority of the participants. In such a case, rephrase the question and ask to the whole audience. In the end, their answers might remind you of the right answer. And even if it doesn't, if nobody knows or if the answers don't match with each other, you can always say, "I'm a bit surprised that you don't know," or "I'm surprised to hear so many different answers. During the next break, I would like you to check what the right answer is and come back with an explanation." Third, quite often you will get a question about a practical application, like what happens when we press the play button with this parameter set that way. If this is a situation you can safely replicate in a learning environment, if it's software related or if you have the equipment and tools, then invite the delegates to practice and find out by themselves. Replicate the situation and try it out. That's also a great way to deal with unexpected situations, like if something breaks down during the training. No stress. Don't give in to the pressure caused by this unexpected breakdown, and also don't try to fix it yourself. Let the delegates identify and report the issue to you. Maybe even fix the issue if it's relevant for them to know how to fix that. Fourth strategy that should be used very carefully. Refuse the question. Sometimes you get delegates that really deviate from the topic that you are currently dealing with, and the best might be to ask them to refocus. Personally, in most of the cases, if I knew the answer, I would give it either quickly now or right after the session's end if it takes time to answer. However, if you don't know the answer, simply say it's not part of the course and you must stick to the schedule. It can also happen that some delegates ask aggressive questions, often related to their specific case, to complain, like, "Why doesn't it work when I try that?" In such cases, especially if you see the audience becomes bored, simply answer you have to move forward with the content and will put the person in touch with a specialist for this specific case. Fifth point now, postpone the answer. If you don't know it, never guess what the answer could be, because you could lose a lot of credibility if you have bad luck that day. As well, try to avoid explaining a difficult concept if you have never rehearsed the explanation before, or if you struggle to find a way to explain it. Instead, here is two ways to postpone the answers. First, you could simply say that you have a very good explanation in your notes, or that there is a video or another media explaining it better than you could explain, and that you will find it back during the next break. Second, you could say that you will address this specific question in a dedicated part later. But in such cases, be ready to actually prepare the part. As a sixth strategy, I propose you to make a homework out of a question that nobody knows. Why not use this strategy when someone asks a question that could be solved with a bit of research or reflection on the topic? Simply thank the delegate for the question, say that's a good one, that it's worth thinking about, and that you would prefer delegates to come up with suggestions. Then invite all delegates to make an opinion for themselves and come tomorrow with a suitable answer. This leaves you with plenty of time to find the right answer, let the delegates explain the day after, and then you can add a few precisions, if possible, to show you know the topic very well. The seventh strategy is one of the most secure. Simply admit that you don't know and commit to come back with an answer. Most delegates don't care about getting the answer now, after the next break, the day after, or even once the training is over. They can wait as long as you actually come back to them with an answer. It's actually often more difficult for the trainer to admit that he doesn't know than for the delegate who raised the request and is waiting for an answer. So don't be ashamed of it as long as it doesn't happen to you every 5 minutes. Once I was delivering an advanced training for the second time with really experienced technicians. As a result, I had to admit that I didn't know quite a number of times, but that was no problem as every time they didn't know either or had different opinions. However, each time I did my researches and testing and always came back to them with an answer. In the end of the training, they told me they actually appreciated a lot that I spent my breaks and evenings looking for answers to their questions. I was not very experienced at that time. Now I would do things quite differently. What I could have done better, for instance, is involving them more in searching and testing for the right answer, instead of doing it all myself alone on the side. That's also a good way to create activities with the delegates, and you know that's interesting to them because they raised the question to you in the first place. Alright, now I would like to emphasize on one golden rule. In any case, never, absolutely never, make up an answer and provide false information. It's acceptable to admit you don't know. It's also acceptable, at least to me, to bluff to win some time, to have some research done and provide the right information in the end. But it's never acceptable to make up something that sounds plausible at the moment and lead delegates on the wrong path just to appear clever at the moment. That's the contrary of what a training is meant to be, and it could place you in a difficult situation when the delegates find out that you gave them wrong information. As well, if you commit to come back to them with an explanation, you have to provide it. I never went to this point, but some former colleagues of mine at the end of a training had to admit that they were not able to find the answers yet and contacted the delegate by email afterwards to provide these. They received warm thanks from the delegates because they were impressed by the care the trainers were demonstrating even after the training was over. Let's conclude with one advice I received once and would like to pass on to you. As long as you provide the right answer at some point, your delegates will be grateful. Good luck with your next training session.